Hello everyone, I am Dr. Miftahul Islam Barbaruah. Uh, Today we are going to discuss regarding the development of national occupational standards and the qualification pack for veterinary paraprofessionals in India. Uh, I'm thankful for the support provided for this activity by National Skill Development Corporation, more particularly Agriculture Skill Council of India. Uh, to give you some context before we can discuss on details about the development of national occupational standards, India is seventh largest country in the world in terms of land area. We are one of the populous state country, second populous country in the world, and we are a democratic country with a federal structure. And administratively, we have a central government and followed by a number of state governments, district administrations, and block and village level administration. So the block and village level administration is actually, we have the local self-government also. They are called panchayats. And in India, veterinary service is a state subject. That means it's the states who decides on the policy aspects, though there are certain guidance coming from the central government. And in many of the states, they are further promoting decentralization, whereby veterinary services responsibilities are being given to local self-governments or panchayats who are controlling uh, block level or village level administration. Uh, like most of the developing countries, in India also, we have been debating for long regarding improvement of veterinary service delivery. More particularly, we call it the 5 A's of national veterinary service delivery. That is the availability, accessibility, acceptability, adequacy, and affordability of services. So it is in this context, uh, we we are working on improving the performance of veterinary paraprofessionals. Similarly, there are a lot of private sector organizations, non-governmental organizations who are interested in training the veterinary paraprofessionals to provide services to rural areas, including delivery of livestock health products. But they are finding difficulty because these paraprofessionals in private sector are not recognized and regulated properly. Those paraprofessionals who are working with the government sector, again, there also you hardly find any uniform definitions. There is no standard of training and regulation to some extent. In recent years, there is increased demand of veterinary services in rural areas more particularly, and this has led to a situation where there is growth of various category of veterinary paraprofessionals in rural areas, and unfortunately they are neither trained properly nor recognized and regulated. Government agencies in India, they have recognized the requirement of VPPs, and the projected requirement of VPPs for 2019-20 is 0.1 million. During 2014, Culmet supported advocacy campaign, which comprised of a study to understand the policy, administrative and legal framework of non-state actors active in veterinary service delivery. And the campaign also supported a lot of stakeholder meetings starting from 2014 and 15. Galmet sponsored policy landscape study also mapped the policy environment outside the veterinary domain for possible solution to VPP issues. During 2013, Government of India announced the National Skill Qualification Framework. Again, in 2014, a new ministry was created, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. And 2015, government also declared the National Policy for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship and launched the National Skill Development Mission. And interestingly, it is not just on policy aspect, but a program also was announced, which is called PMKBY, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. It's in Hindi, particularly it's a skill development program where the government provides assistance to trainees. And the program was planned to start from 2016 and it will continue till 2020. A paradigm shift in thinking happened in 2016 when Agriculture Skill Council of India invited us to look into the opportunity of aligning VPP courses to National Skill Qualification Framework. NSQF, or National Skill Qualification Framework, organizes all qualifications according to a series of levels of knowledge, skills, and aptitude. There are 10 levels, and each levels are defined in terms of learning outcomes, which the learner must possess regardless of whether they are obtained through formal, non-formal, and informal learning. Under NSQF, approach to qualification is based more on output of learning and learning outcome than on input. This is, if you look into this, is the basic difference with the traditional courses, where we focus more on inputs. That means syllabus or curriculum or learning infrastructures and everything. But under NSQF, the focus is more on output of learning. That means the trainee must demonstrate that the learning has occurred and the learning outcome. In the next slide, which is a self-explanatory slide about the learning, why the learning outcome is important. I hope you can follow this cartoon and understand the importance of learning outcome. Adoption of National Skill Qualification Framework is not a new thing in terms of when you look into the global perspective. More than 100 countries have or are in the process of developing their national qualification framework. We also have regional qualification framework, and there are many well-known frameworks like European Qualification Framework, ASEAN Qualification Framework, etc. The National Skill Qualification Framework is defined by criteria expressed in terms of learning outcome. We have discussed about output of learning and learning outcome, and these levels are level from 1 to 10 are described in terms of learning outcome, and it covers 5 areas precisely. That is the process required, professional knowledge required by the person, professional skill, core skill, and the responsibility, that job responsibility precisely. Now you will get it more, these things will become more clear when you look into the definition of levels according to veterinary paraprofessionals. Now, NSQF levels are actually not related to the years of study. It's not just that you have to complete a 1-year course or 2-year course to get a particular level of qualification. So they are not related to the years of study, but they are precisely described in terms of the outcome expected out from the from the person. In India, we have given level 4 for those paraprofessionals who are trained for a longer period or the long-term trained paraprofessionals. And level 3 is accorded to community animal health workers or artificial insemination technicians who are trained for a shorter duration. This table describes the levels, description of levels which are being considered for VPP occupations in India. And if you go to the, if you read through this descriptions, you will see that they are more focused on the outcome. We expect that a VPP trained under level 4 will work in a familiar, predictable situation where he has a clear choice to be made. And similarly, we expect that he needs to have the factual knowledge of field of knowledge or study. Here in the case is the veterinary science. He must have certain factual knowledge. And if you look into the professional skill part, the person must be able to recall and demonstrate the practical skills, routine and repetitive in narrow range of applications, using appropriate rule, tools, and using quality. So again, if you look into description, they said they are meant for actually to do works which are repetitive and with a narrow range of application. They are also expected to have certain core skills like language to communicate, written and oral communication, which we should be clear enough. Skill to basic arithmetic, algebraic, basic understanding of social, political, and natural environment. And these people should be able to take responsibility of their work as well as the learning that they are having. So similarly, for less trained, I'm say those people who are trained for a shorter duration are accorded level 3, and they have been. You can go through this description, and you will find that there is a difference between level 4 and level 3. In this slide, you will see a presentation of the Indian skill ecosystem. I have already told you that the India is now having a separate ministry dedicated to skill development. So under that ministry, we have a National Skill Development Agency who is coordinating central ministries of different sectors. And every state there is a state skill development mission. And this group are supporting the professionally led organizations like National Skill Development Corporation and the sector skill councils. Sector skill councils in our case, it is Agriculture Sector Skill Council. And these councils are actually, doing the job of preparing the national occupational standards, qualification facts, including standardized curriculum. And most of the sector skill councils are actually semi-government in nature, because the board of these council have private sector representatives. So, so that private sector are also a part of the entire skill development initiative. During the early part of 2016, Government of India has declared the national occupational standards for 4 categories of paraprofessionals, namely veterinary field assistant, veterinary clinical assistant, animal health worker, and artificial insemination technicians. Now, these documents, I'm planning to make it available to any of the participants who are interested to go through these documents. These are dynamic document. That means just like in software, you have versions. This is the version 1 of the standards, and there are a lot of there is scope to do the periodic review and improve on these standards. So we expect that in next few years we have a second version of standards to be made available for training providers. I have already mentioned about the four kind of standards that we developed. Uh, these are meant for both field level functions as well as for laboratory and clinic level functions. A trainee gets a formal certificate, which is again and the detail of the trainee is shared in a skill exchange. The database is available online for any of the employers who would like to check availability of skill VPPs in his or her area. So this slide is important in the sense that when we started our journey, we were looking for the recognition of VPPs, and here we see that they are getting a formal recognition, and not just a formal recognition, their database are being maintained properly. So any employer can check whether the certificate is genuine or not, or whether the person have really attended the training programs under NSQF. In recent years, Agriculture Skill Council of India is working with various Indian universities and so that they can align their existing VPP qualifications to National Skill Qualification Framework. So that is, it's basically a change process we are going through. It's still in India, you will see that certain universities are providing traditional VPP courses. They are yet to migrate into the NSQF aligned courses. The next few slides, I am going to describe in detail about the national occupational standards so that you have a better understanding of how these standards are developed. We have already discussed that the NSQF National Skill Qualification Framework focuses on learning outcomes. So uh, basically, what kind of outcome when your focus is on outcome, you expect that the person you will train should not only know things, but also understand the things better and also do it themselves. So the National Occupational Standard describes what the individual need to do, know, and understand in order to carry out a particular job role or a function. See here, there are three words: do, know, and understand. Again, when a set of occupational standards are aligned to a particular job role, we call it a qualification pack. So in earlier slides, I have told you that there are four qualification pack. Suppose for veterinary field assistant qualification pack, it's actually a group of standards which are aligned to the job role of a veterinary field assistant. So this slide indicates the key stages in development of NOS, the National Occupational Standards. So the cycle begins with a thorough analysis of the occupations in any of the sector. So in our case, the sector is the veterinary paraprofessional sectors, and then we identified, the functions which are meant to be done, meant for the paraprofessionals. And with the analysis of functions, we developed occupational standards and grouped the occupational standards to create certain numbers of qualification pack based on the need of the industry. Now, these standards and the qualification packs goes through an approval process from the industry, and we continuously review the standards so that they remain relevant in the context. Then we do a lot of promotion of these standards so that the training institutes who are affiliated to skill ecosystem, they follow these standards. And then we do a periodic evaluation of these standards so that we can have, new version of standards. As I've already told you, the standard documents are dynamic documents. It is continuously being reviewed. The next few slides, we will be going into more detail, particularly how the standards are developed. As I told you, the thing starts with occupational analysis, and then once we understand different occupations, we look into the functions for each of the occupations. So the focus starts with functions attached to any job role. For those who are aware of calculus in mathematics, what we do is that when we have a function, a complex function, we divide the function, we do the differentiation of the function to smaller, to get the smaller part of the function so that it becomes easy to solve. So here also, we divide a function into small part. These are called the elements or the task associated with this function. To give you an example, if we take that vaccination is a function, let's try to understand what are the elements of the vaccination. The elements of vaccination function for a veterinary paraprofessional is that he needs to schedule vaccination program, he needs to do pre and post vaccination care, and also to handle the administration of vaccines. Since now we know the function and the elements of the function, we need to ask a few questions as to how will we know that the vaccination was done properly? How can we assess the performance of the vaccinator? Now, these questions are actually because we are always focusing on outcome. To ensure that our training is focused on outcome, we need to ask these questions. To get the answers of our questions, we need to observe or note the activities of the vaccinator as far as all the elements of vaccination function is concerned. And but the observation that we do, it can vary from person to person. And this is the reason it will be good to give in writing to the vaccinator that he or she need to do XYZ for his performance to be rated as good. And this XYZ is basically the performance criteria. So the occupational standard, National Occupation Standards, describes the functions, describes the element of functions, and the performance criteria which is required or which is expected from the person. This is the snapshot of the vaccination, the standards related to the vaccination function. So if you look into this, we identified the elements in one side. On the other side, we describe the performance criteria specific to that element. So I would request participants to look into the standard documents to better understand how these are being described. By now, you must be interested to know what is the outcome of our journey that started in the year 2014, the advocacy campaign that we started in 2014. The work is still going on, but we understand that we have achieved certain outcome of the endeavors that we as a team are engaged with. Now the privately trained VPPs who are trained under the National Skill Qualification Framework, they are getting certifications which are approved by government and validated by industry. So the first point, which is that recognition of VPP is being taken care of. Then second, those who have received training under the new framework, they have the interstate and even inter-country mobility is possible for them now. Then again, it has increased the employment of VPPs by organized sector, and there is growth of private vocational training institution for VPPs with the support that is coming for the entire skill ecosystem. Now, there is no proper impact study yet to quantify the achievement But I would love to share with you a link shortly about uh, where our CEO of Agricultural Skill Council, Dr. Satinder Arya, will describe on the impact, and where he will try to give you some statistics about the number of people trained, the number of training providers, etc. As I told you, our work in India is still in progress. So we have achieved many things, but still we have a few pain points in our journey. Particularly, the controversy still exists on the definition and permitted functions for various category of VPPs. There are controversies related to the NSQF level accorded to VPPs, that is level 4 for long-term trained VPPs, level 3 for short-term trained VPPs. Many people are saying that we should reduce these levels, lower level. We should give them lower level of NSQF level. Then we have been trying to engage with the veterinary statutory body to come up with a proper regulatory and supervision framework. As you know, the VPPs need to operate under the supervision of veterinarian, but the country is yet to have a proper supervision framework. So we are also trying to engage with the veterinary statutory body, with the Ministry of Animal Husbandry and Dairy, to find out, to come up with a proper policy on the regulatory and supervision framework. As a way forward, we are now planning to also focus on the input part of the training process, and that is on curriculums more particularly. We hope to refer to the OIE competency and curriculum guideline. We will to take these documents as a reference point for not only improving the standards, but also the curriculum, the standard curriculums which we have developed as a part of our current exercise. We also planning to use the OIE competency and curriculum guidelines to develop learning content for continuous education or for reskilling programs for VPPs. And we intend to continuously engage with Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying and the Veterinary Statutory Body in India for VPP regulation, and not just regulation, but the country must make investments on VPP training, including reskilling programs. We will be sharing with you the documents, all the standard documents and the curriculums which are available in India, so that you can refer these documents for in your respective context. You can also visit our website to learn more about our journey, and I hope this information can be utilized by the participants for developing standards in their respective country context. Thank you very much.